I got back from deployment 19 days early and walked into my apartment at 11:43 on a Tuesday night with a duffel bag over one shoulder, dessert dust still in the seams of my boots, and the stupid hope that I might finally surprise someone instead of being the one surprised. The living room was dark, the kitchen light was on, and my bedroom door was open. That was the first thing that made me stop. I'm Ethan Ward, 29 years old, Army combat medic, and I had spent the last 8 months sleeping light enough to wake up if someone breathed wrong 2 tenths over. So when I heard movement inside my bedroom, my whole body went quiet before my brain even caught up. Then I heard her voice. "No, no, no," Tessa whispered. "This looks insane." Tessa Collins was my roommate, my emergency contact, and the woman I had spent 8 months pretending I did not miss more than decent coffee. She was 28, worked as a night shift ER nurse, and had the kind of face that made strangers tell her their secrets at grocery stores. She also had a mouth sharp enough to cut zip ties, which I respected because, frankly, zip ties had been a problem in my line of work. I should have called out. A mature man would have said, "Hey, it's me." Instead, I moved down the hallway like a suspicious raccoon with military training. My bedroom looked nothing like how I'd left it. The bed was made with clean navy sheets. There was a small lamp glowing on my nightstand. My old baseball cap sat on the dresser like she had dusted around it. A stack of envelopes lay across my comforter, each one labeled with dates from the past 8 months. And Tessa was standing in the middle of it all, wearing my gray army hoodie, her hair twisted into a messy knot, one sock sliding halfway off her heel. She had one hand pressed over her mouth. In the other hand, she held a folded letter. I said, "Please tell me you're not selling my identity." She spun around so fast she knocked her hip into my dresser. The letter slipped from her fingers. Her eyes went wide. For one long second, neither of us moved. Then she said very softly, "You weren't supposed to see this." Now, I had heard those words in a lot of bad situations. Usually they involved blood, a missing supply crate, or a lieutenant trying to explain why a goat was inside a government vehicle. But coming from Tessa in my bedroom wearing my hoodie like it belonged to her, it did something worse than scare me. It made my heart trip over itself. I dropped my duffel bag by the door. I came home early. I see that you're in my room. I also see that. And you're wearing my hoodie. She looked down like the hoodie had betrayed her personally. It was cold. It's July. The air conditioning is aggressive. Tessa, Ethan. We stood there, both of us acting like this was a normal roommate conversation, and not the exact kind of moment people ruin by either saying too much or not enough. She reached for the letters, gathering them too quickly. "You should have texted. I wanted to surprise you." Well, she glanced around my room, cheeks pink. "Congratulations." I couldn't help it. I smiled. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then away. That tiny movement hit me harder than any welcome home banner could have. Tessa and I had been roommates for a year and a half because rent in Richmond was insulting, and because my buddy's sister knew her cousin, and somehow that became a lease agreement. At first, we were polite strangers sharing cabinet space. Then she learned I burned toast when I was tired. I learned she cried at old dog videos but pretended it was allergies. She left sticky notes on the coffee maker that said things like, "Your creamer expired during the Carter administration." And I fixed her squeaky bathroom door at midnight because she threatened to name the squeak after me. Somewhere along the way, our apartment started feeling less like a place I stored my boots and more like a place I wanted to come back to. That was dangerous. The last woman I loved had mailed my ring back while I was overseas. Not dramatically. No big fight, just a small padded envelope and a note that said she couldn't keep waiting for a life that paused every time the army called. So I taught myself not to ask too much from anyone. Then Tessa happened. She was funny, steady, maddening, kind in ways that made a man lower his guard before he realized it was happening. And now she was standing in my bedroom with 8 months of letters on my bed. "What are those?" I asked. "Nothing." "Tessa, inventory of envelopes, paperwork has evolved." I stepped inside slow enough not to corner her. "Were you writing to me?" She clutched the letters against her chest. That depends on how you define writing. With a pen on paper, usually words are involved. Then yes, technically. My throat tightened. I looked at the stack in her arms. There had to be dozens. You never sent them. No. Why? She tried to laugh, but it came out thin. Because I'm not your girlfriend, Ethan. The room changed. Not loudly, not like a door slamming, more like a match being struck. I looked at her in my hoodie with tired eyes and a brave chin, and all the things I had shoved down for 8 months stood up inside me. No, I said. You're not. Her shoulders lowered just a little like she had expected that answer, and hated herself for caring. I took one step closer. But I thought about you every day. She went still. The words surprised both of us. I hadn't planned them. I was good at plans. I planned routes, medical kits, evacuation timing. I did not plan to come home early and confess something in my bedroom while my roommate held secret letters like evidence. Tessa's fingers tightened around the envelopes. Don't say that because you just got home and everything feels intense. It felt intense in April. Her mouth parted. I swallowed. And May and June? July was pretty bad, too. Her eyes shone, but she recovered enough to arch one eyebrow. August was nothing special. I was trying to play it cool in August. A small laugh escaped her. It almost broke me. Then she looked away toward the bed, toward the envelopes, toward whatever truth she had been hiding in my room. I was going to put them away before you came back, she said, then make a very casual dinner, something that said, "Welcome home, platonic person." I definitely did not miss in a concerning way. What was the dinner? Lasagna. That's not casual. It was frozen, still intimate. She gave me a look. You think pasta is intimate? I've been eating pouch tuna and crackers for months. At this point, a warm carb feels like commitment. That got the real smile out of her. It was quick, reluctant, beautiful. I wanted to cross the rest of the space between us. I wanted to touch her wrist and see if she leaned in or stepped back. I wanted to ask why she had my room glowing like she had been waiting for a ghost and got a man instead. But she looked scared. Not of me, of what happened next. So I stayed where I was. Can I read one? I asked. Her face changed instantly. No. Okay. That answer seemed to surprise her. Okay, they're yours. They're about you. Still yours. Her eyes softened in a way I had only seen twice before. Once when I left for deployment. Once when I video called after a rough week, and she pretended not to notice my hands shaking around a paper cup of coffee. She set the stack carefully on the bed. You always do that. Do what? Make it hard to keep my distance. The air between us got quiet. Then a letter slid off the edge of the bed and landed face up at my boots. We both looked down. The envelope was pale blue. My name was written across the front in Tessa's neat, slanted handwriting, but underneath it in smaller letters was a line that made my breath stop. Open this if Ethan comes home and still looks at me like I'm only his roommate. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. Tessa made a tiny sound, half panic, half resignation, and bent to grab the envelope. I got there first. Not because I was trying to take it from her, reflex mostly. The same reflex that made me catch falling mugs, dropped scalpels, bad ideas. My fingers closed around the blue paper, hers closed around my wrist. Everything stopped again. Her hand was warm, smaller than mine. Her thumb landed right over the pulse point that was currently betraying me like it had been paid off. "Don't," she whispered. I looked up. She was close enough now that I could see the faint shadows under her eyes, the soft crease between her brows, the single loose strand of hair stuck to her cheek. Close enough to smell lavender detergent and coffee and something that was just Tessa. I said, "I won't open it." Her grip eased, but she didn't let go. "You read the outside," she said. I did. That was already too much, Tessa. She shut her eyes. Please don't be nice right now. That hit me in a place I didn't have armor for. I carefully set the envelope on the dresser beside us, unopened. Then I turned my hand so my palm met hers. She looked down at our hands. So did I. We had touched before. Of course, we had shoulder bumps in the kitchen. Her cold feet shoved against my leg during movie night because she claimed socks were foot prisons. My hand on her back when I moved past her in narrow spaces. Her fingers brushing mine when she handed me coffee before dawn. This was different. This was a choice. "Tessa," I said quietly. "Or look at me." She did. And there it was. The thing we'd both been pretending wasn't in the apartment with us. Want, fear, hope. 8 months of unsent words stacked on my bed. "I don't look at you like you're only my roommate," I said. Her breath caught. I took a step closer, slow enough that she could move away if she wanted. She didn't. "If I did," I continued, "I wouldn't have replayed that stupid video you sent me of you assembling a bookshelf while insulting the instructions." It was a very condescending instruction manual. I watched it 12 times. Her mouth twitched. "That's embarrassing for you. I know deeply. I accept that." Her eyes softened. "You really watched it 12 times, maybe 13. "Ethan, I missed you," I said, "because once you stepped off a cliff, you might as well admire the view on the way down, not the apartment. Not having someone water the basil I killed before I left. You." Her fingers slid between mine. It was such a small movement, barely anything. It nearly took me out of the knees. "I missed you too," she said. The words were quiet, but they filled the room. Then her expression changed. She glanced toward the bed, toward the letters, and pulled her hand back like she'd touched something hot. "I need to explain before you think I'm completely unhinged. I'm a medic. My standards for unhinged are high." She let out a shaky laugh and crossed her arms, which made the sleeves of my hoodie cover her hands. "When you left, I told myself I'd just write down things I would have texted you, but some of it felt too much for a text. So I started letters to send at first, maybe. Then I got scared." "Of what?" "That you'd read them while sitting on a cot surrounded by sandbags and realize your roommate had developed inconvenient feelings." I tried not to smile. She pointed at me. "Do not look pleased." "I'm not. You are aggressively pleased. I'm respectfully devastated. That's not a thing. It is tonight." She huffed, but the blush rose again in her cheeks. I wanted to keep her there in that soft, nervous place because I had never seen Tessa Collins uncertain unless it involved parallel parking or feelings, but I also knew her. If I pushed too fast, she'd turn into sarcasm and smoke. So I sat on the edge of my bed, leaving space beside me. "Tell me one thing from a letter." Her eyes widened. "Absolutely not." "One line? No? One word. Ethan, I just confessed to watching your bookshelf video 13 times. Meet me halfway." She stared at me for a moment, then looked at the ceiling like she was asking for divine patience. Finally, she sat beside me, not touching, but close. The mattress dipped under her weight, and somehow that felt more intimate than any welcome home party could have. She picked up one envelope from the stack. The date on it was May 9th. "This one," she said, "was after you called at 3 a.m. my time. I remember. You said you couldn't sleep." I lied. I know. I looked at her. She kept her eyes on the envelope. "You asked me about my day, and I told you about Mrs. Alvarez in room 12, who kept trying to set me up with her grandson, even though he lived in Phoenix and had, according to her, a complicated ferret situation." She sounded determined. She was, and you laughed. Tessa's voice softened. "You sounded exhausted, but you laughed, so after we each hung up, I wrote that I wished I could climb through the phone and sit beside you until you slept." My chest tightened. She looked embarrassed the second she said it, like she wanted to snatch the words back out of the air. I didn't let her. "I wish that too," I said. Her gaze flicked to mine. I moved my hand between us, palm up on the comforter. "An invitation, no demand." After a heartbeat, she placed her hand in mine. Her fingers were steady this time. "You should know something," she said. "Okay, I am very bad at casual. I gathered that from the secret archive on my bed. I mean it." Her voice trembled a little. "If we do this, I don't want to be your almost. I don't want to be the girl you kiss because you came home lonely." I turned toward her fully. "You're not. You don't know that yet. I know exactly what lonely feels like." I brushed my thumb over her knuckles. "This isn't that." Her eyes searched mine. Then she whispered, "What is it?" I should have had a perfect answer. Something smooth, something worthy of the way she was looking at me. But all I had was the truth. "It's coming home," I said, and realizing I was aiming for you the whole time. Her face crumpled for half a second before she recovered, but I saw it, the impact, the hope. She leaned closer. I went still. "Can I?" she asked. My heart slammed once. Yes. Tessa kissed me first, softly, carefully, like she was testing whether the world would crack open. It didn't. I lifted my hand to her cheek, and she made the smallest sound against my mouth. That was when careful ended. She kissed me again, deeper this time, her fingers curling in the front of my shirt like she was making sure I was real. I turned toward her, drawing her closer, and the sleeve of my own hoodie brushed my jaw as she wrapped an arm around my neck. I had imagined this in weak moments, in dust storms, in the back of ambulances, during long nights when her name sat behind my teeth and stayed there. I had not imagined she would taste like mint tea. I had not imagined how hard I would shake when she kissed the corner of my mouth and whispered, "You're home." "For good tonight," I said. "Tomorrow I'll figure out the rest." She rested her forehead against mine. "That sounds terrifyingly reasonable. I'm growing. Don't overdo it." I laughed and she smiled against me. For a few minutes there was no deployment, no fear, no unsent letters, just Tessa's knees touching mine, her hand warm at the back of my neck, our breathing uneven in the lamplight. Then her phone buzzed on the dresser. Once, twice. She ignored it. I kissed her temple. "You can check it?" "I don't want to. That may be the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me." She groaned and reached for the phone. "If it's the hospital, I'm blaming you." But when she looked at the screen, her smile faded. I felt it before I saw it. "What is it?" I asked. She turned the phone slightly away on instinct, then caught herself. A text glowed on the screen from an unknown number. "You should have told him before he came home." Tessa went completely still. My training snapped awake sharp and cold, but her hand found mine before I could stand. She held on, not hiding behind me, choosing me. "Ethan," she said, voice thin but certain, "there's one letter I really do need you to read." The letter she handed me wasn't blue. It was white, plain and wrinkled at the corners like she had carried it around and changed her mind 100 times. Across the front, she had written only one word. Ethan, no date, no joke, no little doodle in the corner like some of the others. Tessa sat beside me on the bed, close enough that our shoulders touched. Her phone lay face down between us like a sleeping snake. "Before you read it," she said, "I need you to know I wasn't trying to trap you into anything." I looked at her. "Trap me emotionally." "Tessa, you just kissed me in my bedroom while wearing my hoodie. If this is a trap, the bait selection was excellent." Her mouth twitched, but the fear stayed in her eyes. That sobered me. I slid my fingers through hers. "Okay, tell me how to do this." She squeezed my hand once. "Just read." So I opened the letter. Her handwriting was neater at the top and messier as it went, like the words had started behaving and then gotten away from her. "Ethan, if I'm brave enough to give you this, it means you came home and I failed at pretending. There is something I should have told you before you deployed, but you had enough weight on you already, and I told myself it didn't matter. Then it mattered every day. After your farewell party, when everyone left and you fell asleep on the couch, Mara told me she thought I was in love with you. I told her she was ridiculous. She said, maybe, but he looks at you like he's memorizing a map. I stopped reading. Mara? I asked. Tessa's face tightened. My sister. I knew of Mara, older by 2 years, lived across town, sold houses, gave unsolicited life advice with the confidence of a weather warning. She sent that text? I asked. I don't know, but maybe. Maybe the medic in me wanted facts. The man in me wanted to ask why her sister was texting creepy little riddles at midnight. But Tessa's thumb moved over my knuckles, a small nervous sweep, and I remembered what mattered most in that room. I went back to the letter. I laughed it off because that's what I do when someone gets too close to the truth. Then you woke up and asked me if I would be okay while you were gone. Not the apartment, not the plants, me. And I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I had already started counting your footsteps when you came home. That I knew the sound of your keys. That I liked when you stood in the kitchen in those ridiculous old sweatpants and drank orange juice straight from the carton. Even though it was disgusting and I complained every time. I wanted to say that when you hugged me goodbye, I almost asked you to stay, but you couldn't stay. And I didn't want my feelings to be another thing you had to carry. So I wrote them here instead. If you are reading this because I finally handed it to you, please know this. I don't need you to fix anything. I don't need a promise you're not ready to make. I only need the truth. If you feel even a little of what I feel, please don't walk around it anymore. I lowered the letter slowly. Tessa wasn't looking at me. She was staring at our hands like they contained the answer, and she was afraid to read it. My throat felt tight in a way no desert air had caused. You should have told me, I said. She nodded once too quickly. I know. No. I turned toward her. I wish you had because I would have had something real to hold on to. Her eyes lifted. I kept going before fear could shut either of us up. I spent months telling myself missing you was just missing home. But then I'd get a message from anyone else and be fine. I'd get one from you and carry it around all day like an idiot with a secret. You never said I thought it would be selfish. Her laugh was soft and sad. Look at us. 2 noble morons. Speak for yourself. I'm at least decorated. She shook her head and a tear slipped down her cheek even as she smiled. I wiped it away with my thumb. The room went quiet again, but this time it didn't feel like dread. It felt like the pause before stepping into water together. Tessa, I said, I don't want almost either. Her breath trembled. I don't know every answer, I continued. I know my schedule will be messy. I know I'm still figuring out who I am when I'm not counting casualties or scanning rooftops, but I know I want you, not as a maybe, not as a deployment fever dream. You. She stared at me like those words had found every bruise. Then she leaned into my hand. I want you too, she whispered. Even when you drink from the carton like a raccoon in gym shorts, I can change. Don't lie this early in the relationship. I smiled. Relationship? Her eyes widened a fraction like she hadn't meant to hand me the word. I held very still. Is that what we're calling this? She took a breath, then lifted her chin. Brave again. My favorite version of her, though I was starting to suspect all versions of her were my favorite. Yes, she said, if you are. Something in my chest unclenched. Yes, I said, I am. Her smile broke open, relieved and bright, and I kissed her because there was no universe where I didn't. This kiss wasn't startled like the first. It was sure. Her hand slid up my chest and mine settled at her waist. Careful but wanting, she shifted closer until one knee pressed against my thigh and the letters crinkled beneath us. She pulled back just enough to murmur. We are sitting on 8 months of my emotional instability. I'm honored. You should be alarmed. I contain multitudes. She laughed into my neck and I held her there for a while. The unknown number didn't matter. Mara didn't matter. Nothing mattered except Tessa tucked against me, her fingers tracing the seam of my sleeve like she was learning that I was really home. Eventually, She sighed. I should call my sister. I kissed her hair. Do you want me here? Yes. No hesitation. Then softer, but not because I'm scared. Because I don't want to let go of your hand yet. I gave her my hand. Then don't. She picked up her phone and called Mara. It rang 5 times. Voicemail. Tessa frowned and tried again. Voicemail. She always answers me, she said. Could be asleep. She sent a horror movie text and then went to sleep. Maybe she's dramatic and committed. That earned me an elbow gentle enough to count as affection. Then Tessa's phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. The image loaded slowly. It showed our apartment building from across the street. My bedroom window was lit. Below the photo was another message. Tell Ethan to look in the bottom drawer. Tessa's fingers went cold in mine. I looked at the dresser. Bottom drawer? My bottom drawer? The one where I kept old notebooks, spare medals, socks, and things I hadn't touched since before deployment. I stood, but Tessa stood with me, still holding on. Wait, she said. I looked back at her. She stepped in front of me, rose on her toes, and kissed me once. Firm, deliberate, a claim, not a distraction. When she lowered herself, her eyes were frightened but clear. Whatever this is, she said. We do not let it steal what we just said. I cupped her face. No chance. Promise? I promise. Only then did she nod toward the dresser. Together, hand in hand, we opened the bottom drawer. Inside the bottom drawer was a shoebox I didn't recognize. Not mine. White lid, red ribbon, a sticky note on top, and Tessa's handwriting. For when he comes home, Tessa made a strangled sound. I looked at her. Please tell me this is not a bomb. It's worse. Worse than a bomb. It's sentimental. I stared at the box, then at her. You hid sentimental contraband in my sock drawer. I was going to move it before you got back. You keep saying that like I didn't catch you in here committing emotional burglary. Her blush came back fast, and despite the phone, the photo, the weird text, I loved that I could still make her blush. She reached for the shoebox, but I caught her hand, gently. Do I get to open it? She bit her lip. Yes, but if you laugh, I'm leaving the country. I'll miss you terribly in Canada. I was thinking Portugal, ambitious. Her mouth curved, nervous and sweet. I lifted the lid. Inside was a collection of small things, not expensive, not dramatic. A packet of my favorite instant coffee, a keychain shaped like a tiny ambulance. A photo of us from last Christmas where I was holding a burnt pie and she was laughing so hard her eyes were closed. A folded list titled, Things Ethan Has to Eat When He Stops Pretending Field Rations Are Fine. There were also 2 tickets to a minor league baseball game dated next Friday. I picked them up. You hate baseball. I don't hate baseball. I hate 9 innings of men adjusting gloves and spitting. That is an important part of the game. It's a public health concern. I smiled down at the tickets. You bought these for me? For us? She swallowed. If you wanted. I thought it could be casual. Loud crowd, hot dogs, low lighting, if my face did anything embarrassing. You planned a date? I planned a welcome home outing with romantic undertones. That's a date? Fine, she crossed her arms. I planned a date. The word landed between us, warm and alive. I set the tickets carefully on the dresser, then turned to her. Tessa Collins, are you asking me out? She looked terrified for 1 second, then tilted her chin. Yes, Ethan Ward. Will you go on a baseball date with me and explain the rules only if I request clarification? I will. And will you refrain from calling it America's pastime more than once? I can't promise miracles. Then we'll negotiate. I stepped closer. I like negotiating with you. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. You like arguing with me? Same thing, but with eye contact. She laughed and I kissed her because the shoebox had undone me in a way no grand gesture ever could. This woman had built a little museum of wanting me home. She had made room for me and her life before she knew if I'd ask for it. When our lips met, she softened immediately, hands sliding around my waist beneath my jacket. I pulled her close, feeling the press of her heartbeat against mine. For a moment, the world narrowed to that. Her mouth, her breath, her fingers gripping my shirt like she was done pretending. Then my phone buzzed. Not hers, mine. We broke apart slowly. I took it from my pocket. Unknown number. A message waited on the screen. Ask her why she never sent the letter about Mara. Tessa saw it and went pale. The warmth in the room cooled around us. I looked at her. "There's a letter about Mara," she nodded once. "Is it bad?" "No, it's—" She rubbed a hand over her forehead. "Complicated." "Okay, that's your response. I'm trying this new thing where I don't assume the woman who just asked me to baseball is secretly my enemy." She let out a shaky breath. "Very modern of you." I put my phone face down beside hers. No more messages for a minute. But no, I took both her hands. "Whoever is doing this wants to drag us around by the fear. I'm not giving them the next 5 minutes." Her eyes searched mine. "What are you giving me instead? The truth and possibly cold lasagna if it exists. It does exist. Then I'm giving you romance at a very high culinary level." A tiny smile returned. "Frozen lasagna by microwave light. Date 0. She stared at me for a long second. Then she squeezed my hands. Date 0. So we left the letters on the bed, the phones on the dresser, and went to the kitchen. It should have felt ridiculous. Maybe it was ridiculous. I'd been home less than an hour. Someone was sending invasive texts. My roommate was now my girlfriend, if we were brave enough to say it twice, and still standing barefoot in the kitchen while Tessa stabbed vent holes into plastic film. I felt steadier than I had in months. She handed me 2 forks. We're eating from the tray. Classy. You get plates after the 3rd date. What happens after the 2nd? I let you choose the movie without vetoing based on emotional damage. That's huge. I'm a generous woman. The microwave hummed. I leaned against the counter, watching her in my hoodie. "You know I'm going to keep staring at you in that, right?" She glanced down. "Possession is 910N of roommate law. Relationship law may differ." She turned toward me softer now. Relationship. There it was again. The word asking to be held. I moved closer until our socks nearly touched. Yes, if you still want that when there isn't adrenaline and creepy texting involved. I wanted it when you were 7 time zones away and all I had was bad video calls and your ugly baseball cap on the dresser. It's vintage. It's tragic. It has character. It has stains with their own military history. I laughed and she reached up, brushing her thumb along my jaw. The teasing fell away. "I want this," she said. "I'm scared, but I want it." I covered her hand with mine. "I'm scared too. You don't look scared." "That's because I have one face for most feelings." The mildly constipated soldier face. "Brave choice on date 0. She smiled, then stepped into me and rested her forehead on my chest. I wrapped my arms around her. No heroics, no answers, just holding her in the kitchen while the microwave counted down, and my heart learned the shape of peace. After a while, she said, "The letter about Mara isn't some dark secret. Mara knew before I did. She kept telling me to stop being a coward. We fought about it. The night before I left, Tessa nodded against me. She said, 'If I let you go without telling you, I'd regret it. I said you didn't need pressure.' She said, 'Maybe I was making decisions for you because rejection scared me.' I kissed the top of her head. Older sisters are medically known to be annoying and occasionally correct. She's going to love you saying that. Maybe don't mention it until after she stopped sending thriller villain texts." Tessa pulled back. "That's the thing. This doesn't sound like her." Before I could answer, the apartment intercom buzzed once, long and harsh. We both froze. Then my phone lit up again on the counter. Unknown number. "Come downstairs alone, Ethan, or she finds out what Mara really did." I looked at the message. Then I looked at Tessa. "No," she said immediately. I almost smiled despite everything. I didn't say anything. "You got that soldier face." The mildly constipated one. The one where you decide to do something noble and stupid. I set the phone down. "I'm not going downstairs alone." Her chin lifted. Good. Because if you had, I was going to follow you with a fork. A tactical fork. The lasagna fork. Very serious weapon. I reached for her hand. We go together, her fingers locked with mine like she had been waiting for me to say it. The intercom buzzed again. We went down the stairs instead of the elevator. Old habit. Tessa stayed beside me, not behind me, still wearing my hoodie and one determined expression. When we reached the lobby, a woman stood outside the glass door with both hands raised. Tessa stopped. Mara. Mara Collins looked exactly like someone who had tried to conduct a midnight emotional operation and lost control of the mission. Her dark hair was in a crooked ponytail. Her coat was buttoned wrong, and she was holding a manila envelope against her chest. Tessa yanked the door open. "Are you insane?" Mara winced. "That depends on how much you know. Creepy texts, photos of our building, threats in third person. Mara, what is wrong with you?" I panicked. "You panicked like a serial killer." Mara looked at me. "You must be Ethan." I'm extremely confused. "Ethan?" "Fair." Tessa crossed her arms. "Start talking." Mara exhaled and held out the envelope. 8 months ago, I mailed him one of your letters." Tessa went completely still. I felt her hand tighten around mine. "You what?" she whispered. "The May one," Mara said quickly. "The one after he called you at 3 in the morning. You were miserable, Tess. You kept pretending you were fine, but you were writing these letters and hiding them like feelings were contraband. I thought if he knew, maybe he'd say something. Maybe you'd stop torturing yourself." Tessa's face went pale with anger and hurt. "That wasn't your choice." "I know." Mara's voice cracked. "I know that now. It got returned 2 weeks ago because the unit address changed. I was going to tell you, but then Ethan came home early, and I drove over, and I saw his bedroom light on, and I thought, you thought a psychological thriller was the solution? I thought if I texted, you'd both finally be honest before I confessed." I stared at her. Why unknown number? My phone died. I used a texting app on my tablet. Tessa covered her face with her free hand. "I cannot believe we share DNA." Mara looked miserable. "I'm sorry." For a moment, nobody spoke. The lobby smelled like rain and old carpet. Somewhere upstairs, our microwave lasagna was probably turning into molten cement. My hand was still wrapped around Tessa's, and I could feel the tremor she was trying to hide. I turned toward her. "Hey!" She looked up at me. "This part is yours," I said softly. "Not mine. You get to be angry. You get to forgive her or not. Nobody decides for you." Her eyes changed when I said it. Some of the hurt loosened. Then she stepped closer to me just enough that our shoulders touched. "I'm angry," she told Mara. "Really angry," Mara nodded, tears in her eyes. "You should be. But I also understand why you thought you were helping." Tessa swallowed. "You were wrong?" Loudly in multiple fonts. Mara gave a watery laugh. "And if you ever use a creepy texting app on me again, I will put you in a group chat with every hospital administrator I know. That's fair?" Tessa took the envelope from her. Then she leaned into me a little more and said, "For the record, we were honest before your horror show reached its 3rd act." Mara blinked. "You were?" Tessa glanced up at me, even in the lobby. Even with her sister standing there, even with all the embarrassment and chaos of the night around us, she smiled. "Yeah," she said. "We were." I squeezed her hand. She asked me to baseball. Mara gasped. "Tessa hates baseball." "I know," I said. "It's serious." Tessa elbowed me, but she was smiling now. Mara wiped her cheeks. "So you two are Tessa," looked at me. There was a question there, but not fear this time. "A choice," I answered it. "Together," I said. Tessa's smile went soft enough to ruin me. "Together," she repeated. Mara pressed both hands to her heart. "I love this." "You are still in trouble," Tessa said. "I can love it from trouble." We sent Mara home after making her promise to call when she arrived. Then Tessa and I went back upstairs. The apartment felt different when we returned. Not because the mystery had vanished, but because it had shrunk. It was no longer a shadow over us, just a mess we would handle together. In the kitchen, the lasagna had cooled into a dense red brick. Tessa poked it with a fork. "Date 0 may need medical attention. I'm a medic. Can you save it?" I studied the tray. "No?" She laughed, and the sound filled the apartment like lights coming on. We ate cereal instead, standing barefoot at the counter, sharing one bowl because she claimed all the others were emotionally unavailable in the dishwasher. She fed me a bite, then looked suddenly shy afterward, like intimacy had snuck up on her in the shape of a spoon, so I took the spoon from her, fed her one back, and kissed the corner of her mouth where a drop of milk had landed. Her eyes fluttered closed. "That was smooth," she whispered. "I've been practicing on 0 women for 8 months. Impressive discipline. I was waiting for someone." She opened her eyes. The teasing faded. "For me?" she asked. I set the bowl down and pulled her gently into my arms. "For you?" She rested her hands on my chest. "I'm still scared. Me too. You might get sent away again. I might. I'll hate it. I'll hate it more." "You'll still drink from the orange juice carton?" "Almost certainly," she laughed, but her eyes shone. I brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "But I won't make you guess where you stand with me. Not after tonight." Her fingers curled in my shirt. "Then I won't hide letters in your room instead of saying what I mean. Seems healthier, less mysterious, though." "I've had enough mysterious." She rose on her toes and kissed me. Slow. Certain home. A year after that night, Tessa still had the gray hoodie. She claimed it had legally transferred ownership due to emotional squatters' rights. I didn't argue. I had learned to pick my battles, and besides, she looked better in it. We went to that baseball game. She heckled the mascot, asked exactly 2 questions about the rules, and cried when the elderly couple on the kiss cam kissed like teenagers. Afterward, she admitted baseball was tolerable with the right person, which I considered a championship victory. By the following spring, we weren't roommates anymore. We were us. Same apartment, different bedroom arrangement, 2 toothbrushes and 1 cup. Her letters tied with red ribbon in a box on our shelf. Not hidden, not secret. Sometimes on hard nights she read one to me. Sometimes I wrote one back. And on quiet mornings when sunlight came through the kitchen window and Tessa stood there in my hoodie making coffee, I still got that same feeling I had the night I came home early. Like I had walked into a room I wasn't supposed to see and found the rest of my life waiting there. What would you have done if you came home early and found your roommate in your bedroom with secret letters about you? Have you ever experienced something similar? Tell your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next